curious how that goes, because like there's no categories on YouTube. It's just there. Seems to be a fun Steam Deck playback kind of game for you. I'll have a look for sure. All right, YouTube stream is up and live. Say hi, YouTube. I'm still getting the tier list up and running right now, so one moment. Single-use private list. I don't think I'm gonna need I don't think I'm actually. I'm looking at it, so I'll give a quick spiel. Let me get these images loaded up, and we'll that crop on images. I'm including 13 games. Unless I know I said I completed 12, so oh, what the hell? Presentation mode. Then upload these again. How dare you. I did grab all the images yesterday, though. Okay. I think we are... mostly prepared. Because I do have notes, and I need them to be available. So, another tab over here. Should be golden. I think that'll work. Back to full screen. Perfect. That looks pretty good. All right, I'm going to go in order that the games are streamed in. So, first thing we had, first game that was completed in 2024 was Turbo Overkill. That game was gifted by the Flooper as a nice mechanically sound boomer shooter. You want to call it that. I would say on the mechanics front, it definitely delivered. I will take all the blame for all the pain and suffering that was inflicted upon myself for that. I decided to put it on, Murder Machine difficulty, which I later found out was basically a meme by the developers to like, it's like nightmare mode in Doom. Basically, everything's ratcheted up as high as it can go to almost stupid levels. So, 100% my fault. Also, looking at like my notes off to the left, I can literally put this on my monitor directly in front of me. Do that. Yeah, like I say, mechanically, it accomplishes what it set out to do, I'd say. Story, pretty forgettable. Not that it needed one. And also, like, the humor didn't really land for me either. So, I'm going to, and I'm going to adjust things as we go. So, I'm going to say, at least out of the gate, I'm probably going to put it I'll put it in B tier for right now. It could drop to a C depending on what else was in here. So having a nice vanilla porter today. All right. Lucky. I paid for it. There's no luck involved. I bought it. Well, bought it and brewed it as well, so. All right. Second game of 2024. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Game that I avoided for a really, really long time. Okay, I'm back to hear this. You're gonna be disappointed, Choir. So, mechanically, mostly works. It does show its age quite a bit now. It's a little bit awkward. There are some legitimately cool mechanical things that they did with the game. It's the strangest combination of good choices and absolutely like baffling ones. Is kind of it was my note on the game. Again, just weird tonal shifts, like they are running out of time, which the development story of all of it makes sense. You know, considering that project had gotten scrapped at one point for the most part, they started over, like a whole lot of things that went against it. So, where that left me, playing through the game the first time on hard, parrying was super weird until I learned how to do it. Game does a horrible job of explaining it. A tier too short for S. I'm gonna do. I've already changed my mind. Turbo Overkill's going in C. I don't know. It's like it's right in between a B and a C for me because the mechanics of that game are really, really good. Rising is probably in this area as well. Did I have more fun playing Rising than Turbo Overkill? Yes, I did. It's a meme for a reason. I'm putting it in B for now. I can't give it an A tier. You know, when I first started talking about Metal Gear Rising, I thought I was going to put it lower. We'll see. We'll see how this shuffles down. Go Ninja, go Ninja, go. Nano Machine, son. Yeah, it was awkward as hell to control at times. Platinum did what they could. I don't remember any of... I barely remember the actual story of it. Not, again... again, that's not what you're there for. It's not a Metal Gear game. It only is in name. Source, I made it the fuck up. Of course. All this is source, I made it the fuck up. Yeah, some just absolutely like head scratchers of choices went into that game. Anderson says that. I think he probably does. Or it's so it's so weird. But yeah, that was the second game into the year. Why did my music stop? Or did it? Sec. We need more. I don't know why I thought this was the fourth game you completed this year. Best? No, I looked through the list. I looked through the history of all my streams this year, and I was like, wow, I really didn't play many games. Now, that being said, there were two very long ones, so actually 3 that influenced a fair bit. So, third game that was played this year, which was Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, or Like a Dragon 8, if you want to, give it the Japanese title. I don't know how much I actually need to say about it, because I'm pretty sure you all know where it's going. I'm not going to bury the lead on this one. But as far as my notes go, I would say mechanically and systems-wise, it eclipsed Like a Dragon 7, or aka Yakuza Like a Dragon, in most meaningful ways. The biggest criticism that I can draw, there is actually 2 criticisms so one criticism of the actual game, and then another one with the publisher. I guess we'll lay that gripe officially with Sega. With the game, story was a bit too much. They bit off, in my opinion, a little bit more than they could chew. You're handling a goodbye to Kiryu Kazuma, and then trying to handle an Ichiban story in it as well. The dual protagonist thing was... I know there's history of them doing that in Yakuza 0, but in this, it's too much. It's not, like, offensively too much. It's just a little bit too much, to where, like, I wasn't really particularly satisfied with the end of Ichiban's, adventure. The whole Pelicana with, thing. So, I'm here with lurking as it's Jeebus Born Day. Much love. Much love to you, Craft. Merry Christmas to you and your family.
But they're not now.
Fake fan.
The chance to be the first is over.
But he's about to no-scope a baboon.
I fucking no-scoped that shit just then. That was wild.
Yeah, amazing.
So why is this over here? It should be in the middle. Center that up. Listen to Bastille Hardcore with your family. Real Aussie vibes on that one. All right, so in the context of 2024, again, remember, this is within the context of the year. This is not a quality of the game overall. That would shift things a bit. So, in the context of games that I streamed this year, I'm putting it in S tier. The second gripe, of course, was gating off New Game Plus by the publisher. But I am not detracting from the game because of it. That being said, it did not prevent me. How should I say? Like, I didn't really feel compelled to play another, through it again for that reason. So, Sega, please stop doing that. absolutely boneheaded move. Because I still haven't bought the DLC for it. I almost caved in the last, like, sale. I was like, do I really want to buy New Game Plus? It'll keep going on sale, so I'll get to it eventually, but I just didn't feel compelled to, because it made me mad. But yeah, in the context of 2024, I'd say it's an S tier game. It's probably, you know, in the context of games being played this year, and games played and completed, it's probably the best game I played. Moving on. Actually, let me have a drink first. So, I started this next game prior to Infinite Wealth, but didn't finish it until afterward. That game would be Lies of P. And I think my initial thought, actually, let me give my note is that it's the best, you know, Souls-like form of, you know, of the Souls-like formula, you know, that was not made by FromSoft themselves. Fries are free. So, all of that said, the combat worked pretty well. There were a couple, like, weird little technical things, but for the most part, they really did well on the feel of combat, to where, like, if you have a large weapon, the hits feel impactful, and it rewarded you for playing skillful. So if you parried, you know, all 5 hits of a combo from a boss, like, you're going to stagger them, stun them, you know, what have you. So rewards you for playing well. It was very interesting to go through a game based on Pinocchio. That was a very interesting choice on source material to go with. So I'm going to put Lies of P in A tier. I very much enjoyed the game, though. Number 5 is going to be Ghost of Tsushima. There's Pinocchio Horror Movie 2. I remember that being said when the playthrough was going on. It's weird to think about because, you know, I still have, like, the Disney. I have the Disney version in my head. Is it good? I don't know. Ringing endorsement. So yeah, Ghost of Tsushima. Originally a PS4 game. Took absolutely forever to come to PC. And what we got was the director's cut. Yeah, this is probably, I think this is, like, the longest one that was, in terms of, like, Sony, like, first and second party studio games that made it to PC. This was the longest. This one took the longest. Ghost of Tsushima? Yes. My notes for that. Aesthetically a very beautiful game. Especially considering that it was designed for PS4. There were some rough edges here and there, but I'm attributing it to, you know, the hardware that it was designed for. On the flip side, that could make it age a little poorly, but we'll see how that is. But it did get, you know, pretty good PC port. was pretty happy with it. Story, very much enjoyed. Except for one very notable part of it, which is Jin getting bonked on the head and falling into like literally the worst and most stupid trap ever. And a main character, you know, I'll say main character. But yeah, then it being some huge story consequence. It was dumb, to say the least. It was dumb. What else? The other note that I have on it, and again, is it a product of, you know, being a PS4 game? Is it a product of design? I don't know. It's hard to say, but the open world nature of the game made some of the tasks and missions, it felt a little bit like a checklist at times. Some repetitive things. Obviously completely optional if you don't want to do it, but it's there. It's an icon on the map. Like so if you wanted 100% the game or something like that, you know, you'd have to go and do it. The samurai duels were pretty cool, but I ended up avoiding a decent amount of, you know, optional things. Obviously, I did all the character stories, those are decent because they're unique and, you know, they supplement the main story. But yeah, am I going to go find all the fox dens? Am I going to go light all the watchtowers? What else? Interact with all the cricket cages and graveyards and whatnot? No. Like, that's just open world fluff. So where does that put Ghost of Tsushima? At this exact moment, I'm gonna say it's at the top of B tier. I wouldn't quite give it an A. I enjoyed the game, but I didn't love it. The multiplayer was also very okay. Okay. You may notice, you know, sharp-eyed among you may notice that, wait a minute, there's a game that you didn't really play through this year. And you would be correct if you said that game would be Elden Ring. However, Game Awards and other outlets have, you know, considered Shadow of the Erdtree, which is the DLC for it, its own separate thing, and I would kind of be inclined to agree. It's a whole new map. It's a whole new set of bosses. It's just a more condensed Elden Ring adventure. So, I count that as its own thing. And based on that, it wasn't against it. It was fleshed out enough to where I would say, like, I never played through, you know, Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty, but like it was an expansion more than it was DLC. But yeah, in terms of what I had thought about it, these are all notes that I typed up after I played it. I would say it's basically, it was already the gold standard. Like the best, you know, what was one of the best games, you know, was the best game of 2022, was even better. Different types of landscapes, more dynamic map, a decent amount of new weapons, bosses that were at times frustrating, but, you know, added challenge, and, you know, it still felt extremely satisfying when you did win. Biggest complaint I could probably make was the lack of new weapons that were not based on being spec'd for Holy. So, Where does that put that? I mean, also one other note is that it had the most difficult boss in the series, in my personal opinion. Like, that was absolutely a rough one, especially soloing it. I will say I didn't, I can't speak for people who use summons or spirit ashes or otherwise, but playing through it the way I normally do, which is without pants and no summons, no or anything like that. It was the hardest boss in the series for me. So, should be a little surprised to anyone that this is going up here. I don't think, like, in terms of, like, fun factor, like, it was super nice to revisit the world of Elden Ring, even if it was a little painful at times. Alrighty, we're down. That was the 6th game, so we're just about halfway through the year. Not in actual time, just in terms of the number of games I've played. There were a couple of shorter ones down the stretch. All right. Number 7 on the list would be System Shock Remake. So this is the 2023 edition of System Shock. Remade, rethought by Night Dive Studio. Who's, famous for doing such things with, several different games and being very successful at it. So, what did I think about System Shock Remake? I'd say that it nails it in the aesthetic category, nailing the kind of the retro feel. To a point where there are certain things like the inventory management and all of that felt retro, like, appropriately, but that's kind of what the original was, about. So I wouldn't really call that a, negative for it. Story-wise, as far as I know, they didn't mess with a whole lot, which is good. I would say the only... Maybe they did too good a job of feeling it feel retro. No, it wasn't like that, because you had, you had things like leaning while shooting, and certain combat things that were, I don't know, they're kind of fun. Like you could literally set traps for bosses and things like that, and all that stuff works. So like it had that immersive sim quality to it. So the core of it stayed intact. However, there is one big caveat about the entire game, is that all of this great stuff that happened during it didn't stick the landing. Ending of that game, they redid, because like the original was like I don't say like a flight sim, but it was a fight in cyberspace, which is how the original game ends. This was in cyberspace as well. However, they turned it into a more I would say more like regular shooting section, and man, was it rough and awkward and I just didn't quite get it. And this was after, so they redid it, and then there was a whole backlash on it, and then they fixed it. This was the fixed version. So I would say that, did it ruin the entire game? No. But at the same time, yeah, there was no payoff at the end. So in my opinion, this is probably This is probably low B. If not for the ending, this would have been an easy A to give. Like, no brainer, no questions asked. It would have been an A if not for the ending. Takes an entire letter grade off of what was, you know, what was a good experience. If I wanted to be super harsh, I would put it down to a C, but I don't know. You know, are any of the games this year that I played worthy of a D ranking? The review, ass. Now on to 2025. Yes, precisely. How's it going, DD? Merry Christmas to you. Since this is officially the 25th, across the pond. Like going to a 3-course dinner, they burn the flambe and dessert course at the end. Yeah, that's pretty much that's a great analogy. Merrill cream sauce? Excuse me, what? Oh. Yes. Not one I've heard of. Double D, yeah. I've thought that one before. All right, what's next? Okay, so we're on to another easy one. Actually, let's give DD a shout out for.
I'm going to tell you something shocking now. There are 2 types of beings, male and female. Now guess which one I belong to.
Wait a minute. Was that original dialogue? That seems way too topical for nowadays. No, this is AI from a quest mod. Okay. I was gonna say there's no fucking way. Alright, back to the list. The next game that was played, 8th game that was played in 2024, was Yakuza Kiwami. A remake of the original game. And kind of an overhaul into the Dragon engine. So a lot of the modern conveniences. Plays, you know, I would say it played very much like Yakuza 0. As they, you know, were a year apart from each other, so not surprising in the least. So, they definitely kept the core of the story and sub-stories intact, for better or for worse. Like, the story, it holds up because it's, you know, it's the same kind of stories that they've been telling for, you know, so many years now at this point. The sub-stories did not hold up. Like, how am I getting scanned by this random passerby? The sub-story's over in 5 minutes. Like, you've wasted my time. What made Yakuza 8 S tier for me? Okay, so just, I'll caveat first. This is a list just for 2024. This is not overall ranking, so relative to the rest of what I played in 2024, it's S tier. If I was saying in terms of overall, I would probably put it as an A. However, just to give you the quick, the short version of my notes. Mechanically, it's better than Yakuza 7 or Like a Dragon 7 in most meaningful ways. So like the combo system where you're intentionally trying to knock them into your other party members, like all that shit was really cool. Story, it was where they had a bit of a misstep because they tried to do too much in handling both Kiryu and Ichiban. So it's overall I would put it as an A tier, but yeah, for relative to rest of 2024 games, it's an S tier, along with Shadow of the Erd Tree. Overall, I would put it beneath Yakuza 7. Maybe it's a little bit of just nostalgia, or the fact that it was the first game in the series that I played, and I just like the story more, I guess. But yeah, there's so much packed into 8. It was ridiculous. All right, so where does that leave Yakuza Kiwami? I would say Kiwami probably goes into the A tier category. I'm trying to like balance, the fact that they remade an old game and they were trying to stay faithful. It's always a weird and difficult line to balance on. But yeah, the sub-stories were just bad at times. Or just like, I don't want to say bad, but let's say pointless. Like, I didn't need to take, 5 to 10 minutes out of my time to beat up one person and then fuck off. So, A tier for now. Is this below or above Lies of P? I don't know. Leave it there. Yeah, shocking. I put a Yakuza game high on the list. Who'd have thought? Okay, this one might be... this one is a little less on the fence of... Never understood, does putting one item before the other in the same tier mean it's better? Yeah, so like... in terms of, like, let's go with the B column. So going from left to right, Ghost of Tsushima was better than Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, which was better than System Shock Remake. So you go from high B to low B. At least that's how I've always done. That's how I've always done tier lists. You don't have to do it that way, but that's how I tend to sort it. I've always seen them as the same. You can do it both ways. I'm intentionally sorting them. These two at the top, I have a hard time with. I don't think I could put an expansion above a full game. So, I'm going to leave that there. Lies of P. I'd say perhaps like that. Ghost of Tsushima was definitely above the other two in this category. So much so that I would actually consider pushing these two down. Which I actually think I will do. Just in the context of everything else, I'd say this is actually... The gap between Metal Gear Rising and System Shock, Ghost of Tsushima was pretty large. And again, this is just an overall 2024 list, so yeah. I'm going to leave this here for now. I'll stew on that as we're going. And before I save it off and save it to the spreadsheet, think about it a bit more. All right, next one is another DLC. But I am going to treat it as its own thing. It was at least, it was more than a few hours worth of time. And that would be Warhammer 40k Bolt Guns DLC Forges of Corruption. Space Marine 1.5. I very much enjoyed Bolt Gun. That was a 2023 game for me. No nonsense, no bullshit. Just generally fun to play. Overall, like I said, it is more of a formula that already worked. If I have to make a knock on the DLC, it's that they didn't add too many new enemy types, and they would often just resort to throwing more bosses that you've already seen before at you. From the base game. So I would probably put this into lower B. Bad triple S tier. Good luck, have fun. It is triple S tier. Good night, DD. Hope you have a wonderful Christmas. And I'm sure I'll see you around. Okay. Moving on. Guess what? We're not leaving the Warhammer 40k universe. Because the next game we played... Well, the next two kind of interchanged a bit because they started, due to the co-op nature of Space Marine 2, which is one of the games. I also played Gunbrella a little bit during it. So, we're going to do Space Marine 2 first, though. And what I would say is that it did feel a little short. The overall scale of the game, what it did mechanically, the shooting, the co-op play, mission structures, I think was all very good. The length of the game, I wish it was a little bit longer. At the same time, it didn't overstay its welcome. On a technical level, mostly sound. There were a few notable situations where the game glitched out, not being able to grab med kits. Also, the frequent disconnects that happened. It's always a difficult thing. It's like, is it, not being able to connect to co-op play, is that the game? Is that necessarily the game? Or are we rating it on when it does work? If I'm not even considering the disconnect and the pain and suffering of trying to get connected, I probably have this in A tier. But if we are taking those into account, I probably have it in B tier. going to drop it right there for right now. Oh, the only other note that I had on here that I neglected to say was a lot of the weapons felt a little bit samey. Hearing this, I will say that when it did get fixed with that patch, it was fixed for good. So good on them. Yeah, and that's where I ultimately kind of left off with it. Is that I'm gonna leave it in A tier because by the time the playthrough was done, it was working to to expectations. But overall, it was very fun to play. Very fun to play co-op. Had a good time with it. So, I'm leaving it A tier. All right, I already spoiled what the next game on the list was, and that would be Gunbrella. Little indie game, Devolver Digital published, developed by Doinksoft. It was kind of a more mature game from them, as compared to like their previous ones. Overall, I would say the pixel art was very nice. Rare for not to say rare for a 2D game, but not always seen in 2D games, is that it had an actual story that it was trying to tell. It controlled very nice. Didn't have any problems with it. I don't remember the game crashing on me or anything like that. If it did, it was like one time, and I didn't really make note of it. Hard difficulty was not that much of a struggle for me personally, but your mileage may vary. Also, we're almost done here. Probably 10 to 15. I don't know. Let me know what you think, Choir. I'm equal parts, like, I can go be a vegetable and play Metaphor for a few hours. Or we could continue Baldur's Gate. But I am totally cool with either way. 'Cause I don't really need to be up for anything tomorrow. We could at least sing a night song on Christmas Eve. I say you're the one who knows the story implications and how much of a time investment it is, so I'll rely on you for that. As far as the tier list goes, I'm gonna put Gunbrella there. And that leaves us down to 2 games, one of which has not been finished. Don't rely on me setting you up. We could literally finish Act 2 tonight. But how much time? Or it could be another side trip, you never know. True. I do get easily distracted. I do want to check something quick. Oh, what's coming up? Well, usually in those scenarios, you're not intentionally trying to do that. I'm, off the top of my head right now, I'm saying let's do it tomorrow. But that's just like first thing in mind. And we can. I'm available to put like plenty of time into it. I've said after dinner at my parents' is like I've got nothing. I'm making that the only plan for tomorrow. No tier list, no year in review, nothing like that. I'm thinking we'll go with that. I'll just commit to it and say it's a nice, relaxing Christmas Eve. I think is in order. Okay. So we have 2 games left. It should be pretty obvious which one is next on the tier list. And that would be Silent Hill 2. Specifically Silent Hill 2 Remake that came out this year. Now, what did I think of it? Having zero context on what Silent Hill, is as a franchise, there was no. It was also kind of nice for me because there was no emotional baggage, there was no nostalgia for it. It was just, I could, more or less rate it on its own merits as a survival horror game or psychological horror game. Overall, did it blow me away? No. I would say it was good, but I would not call it great. Be right back, wondering where the Baldur's Gate 3 Act 1 and 2 will end up as well. Yeah, I'm gonna. That one's gonna take some thought. For me, at least. But I think I have a good idea of where that's gonna end up now. But yeah, for Silent Hill, mechanically, it didn't specifically. The biggest problem I had with Silent Hill 2 was kind of mechanically and also performance-wise. Like, the game stuttered quite a lot on PC, to the point where it was noticeable. Cutscenes were at 30 FPS, oddly. All of these things for not, a game that wasn't, like, didn't blow you away visually. It didn't do anything special or, that I hadn't seen before. But yeah, overall, the puzzles, I don't think I had a particular problem with any of them for an extended period of time. It wasn't like they were mean. Granted, I put it on standard. They could have been worse on the highest. I put the combat on, on hard, which I paid for quite a bit at the beginning. But those are my specific choices. As far as, telling the story and not knowing what's coming next and, trying to revive a franchise that had been dead, more or less, for a long time, I think Bloober Team accomplished that. Where it actually ends up in terms of this list is I'm gonna say right there. I'm gonna put it behind Ghost of Tsushima. I enjoyed my time with it overall. We almost have a perfect... Actually, we have like almost a perfect curve here. I swear I didn't plan this out, and I did not do this in advance. But yeah. Good, maybe not great, is where I'd put it. Ghost of Tsushima is kind of like either here or here. But I'm leaving it in B just because of the open world repetitiveness that it had. Okay, what's next? Well, the answer should be obvious. Baldur's Gate 3. So, for me, who had zero knowledge, I would say close to zero knowledge of D&D, just the actual rule sets of D&D, I had never touched any edition of it, had not played either of the older Baldur's Gate games, just in general, D&D is not something that I had exposure to outside of, popular media. So it kind of had the odds stacked against it in terms of, I'll say, legitimately afraid to play the game to a degree, because I was like, okay, what if I'm not getting it? What if I'm, struggling and all that? So, like I said, had the deck stacked against it a little bit. However, through the majority of Act 1 and 2 of the game, something like 40 hours of gameplay into it, I think that was the last look that I had, I've found that I very much have enjoyed it. How much as that has been because I've had, some guidance, specifically thank you to Choir for for explaining things to me. It's been, even with the accessibility, with the way that Larian made the rule sets accessible, you can click most things and it'll explain what it does. There is a absolute fuck ton of information to consume. And just, realizations of, things like, oh, I can do that? So, all of that combined has made the game very much enjoyable for me, so far. As a complete package, if I'm just trying to section off my mind in Acts 1 and 2, I'm probably going to put this as an A. That's kind of what I'm feeling right now. Is it S tier for me at this exact moment in time? No, not quite. And that's more due to the fact that I think it's mostly due to my lack of knowledge with other Larian games, my lack of knowledge of D&D. I'm not usually the one for high fantasy, so that's basically to say that the game is that good to where it's taken things that I don't necessarily know about or like and gotten them into a package of where, I'm having a good time with it. Not to mention, there's an absolutely crazy amount of replay potential with the game. Just one little decision could just trigger so many other things, and it's insane. And how much there is there. So, I would have it firmly planted in, like I said, that's the upper A tier for me. If nothing else, even if I don't end up where the game goes by the end of it, it's made me appreciate the effort that Larian went through in order to make the game. They took 6 years to make it, something like that, and it shows. The amount of things that you can do is kind of staggering and unheard of. even in today's landscape. So taking a look at all of these things, I think that might be our list. I'm trying to look at it as like, are there any other movements I need to make? And again, this list is relative to 2024 and 2024 only. I'm not saying that Turbo Overkill is a D tier game, but in the context of everything I had played in 2024, that's just unfortunately where it ends up. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and grab a screenshot of this. I'm probably going to post it in Discord. And I'm also going to save it to the Google Sheet that I have. Now I will save that off. It says it's going to stay in my account. And I'll have a list of what I had played for this year, because we're not going to beat Baldur's Gate before the end of the year. It's just not happening. Unless I did nothing other than, play it. Go ahead and download an image of that. But yeah. Got it done in a little over an hour, so not bad. Considering I played basically, I'd say almost half of the games that I had played the year prior, so not surprising that where we ended up on time for today. But yeah, I just wanted to get this done. I wanted to, do this today. Before I forget, let's go ahead and get this all posted. Tier list. All right, very good. So yeah, this is everything I had planned for today. Short stream, but again, it's the holiday season, so wasn't planning on streaming for a crazy amount of time. But yeah, tentative plan for tomorrow, Baldur's Gate 3. We're gonna get, I don't know, we may finish Act 2 tomorrow, I don't know. But yeah, that's the plan. Choir's gonna join me once again. And should be a really fun time. Should have a little longer of a stream tomorrow, as we got no other plans. So as soon as I'm done with some family stuff, I will be diving back into that with him. But yeah, I think all that's left to do is wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, or maybe if you don't even celebrate those things, have a good rest of your night, and thank you for being here. Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow for the last scheduled stream for the week. I want to thank you all for watching. Thank you all for joining. Thank you for everybody who's been here throughout the year supporting. Even if you're not, subscribing or anything like that, your presence is always appreciated here, and it's why I continue to do this. So, that being said, thank you all once again. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening or day, depending on your time in the world. And we'll be back at you tomorrow with some more Baldur's Gate 3. Until then, take care, and goodbye for now.